for jobs like this. And one chance in 1,000, these people rang up to say, oh, we need to change your password, because they apparently believe in Belfort. And so he logged on and was able to access everything and locked him out.
Okay, good evening everyone. It has just turned 6 o'clock, so if we can make a start with the meeting. Councillor Jones, thank you. Item 1, apologies for absence. Councillor Murdoch is travelling from Cambridge and will join us if she's able. If not, I will take 2 items that she's got on the agenda. Item 2, minutes of the previous meeting. Can we agree those? Thank you. Item 3, don't propose to go the order of business. Item 4, are there any declarations of interest? No. Okay. Item 5, can we confirm the change of date? The March executive from 3rd of March to 24th of March. Thank you. And move on to item 6, Princess Street car park extension. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. Princess Street car park extension. Subject to planning permission to incorporate an extension to the temporary car park on Princess Street prior to and during the construction phase of various developments into the Council's off-street parking places order. The extension will be on the site that was previously occupied by 2 car garages, 86 to 98 Princess Street, and will be for a long-stay car park. It is expected that the site will be ready for use during 2020 to offset the loss of spaces during the construction of the proposed multi-storey car park. Therefore, once the developments are complete, the total number of parking spaces will be broadly similar to the current number of spaces available now.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes. Questions?
Thank you, Chair. I had 3 questions. The first one was, as Section 32 of the 1984 Road Traffic Regulation Act states that Council must show additional spaces are necessary at the time of decision, would not a decision contingent on possible future events, such as the redevelopment of a former roadside, outside the control of the Council, be unlawful?
Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes, and my apologies to everybody here. I think you're going to get a bit tired of my voice. Right. The provision allows local authorities to provide suitable parking within their area for the purposes of relieving or preventing congestion of traffic. The provision of the additional spaces is considered necessary regardless of any proposals for the use of the adjacent sites for other purposes. This is as a result of the demand for car parking in this area already regularly exceeding the levels of supply at peak times. As such, the proposal is considered to comply with the legal requirements of Section 32 of the Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984. The temporary loss of parking that will occur if the development of the adjacent sites proceeds will exacerbate the situation. There is a requirement for additional parking in this area regardless of this development, and this is referenced in the Ipswich Parking Strategy Report, which forms part of the Ipswich Local Plan. The provision of the additional spaces is subject to obtaining planning permission and the consent of Suffolk County Council.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Your second question, Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. It says, given that policy SP17 of the local plan expressly states that new temporary car parks in the town centre will not be permitted, should not the executive first apply for planning permission to establish whether or not such a car park is lawful?
Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. The proposed extension of the Princess Street car park is being sought for a number of reasons, including providing capacity of spaces necessary whilst the proposed multi-storey car park and other developments in this area are being constructed. The report sets out clearly that these developments could result in the loss of 400 spaces. Planning permission will be necessary in order for the car park extension to be constructed. When the planning application is determined, all of the relevant policies in the local plan will be considered in coming to a decision on whether or not to grant approval. By approving the proposal to include the additional spaces in the Council's off-street parking places order now, subject to consideration of any form of objections, Executive is allowing officers to work on both this requirement and the application for the planning permission simultaneously in order to expedite the matter. I should also point out that neither individual policies or the local plan is its entirety of the law in the manner that many might lead to believe when they are in the way the question is being phrased.
And your third question, Councillor Holmes.
Will an order under the 1984 Act conflict with the declaration of climate emergency by the Executive in July 2019, it being accepted that since the emergency was declared, no work seems to have been carried out in preparing any specific policies?
Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. No, in my opinion, it won't. The requirement for the provision of some additional parking in this area by 2036 is set out in the Ipswich Parking Strategy Report, but the level of additional parking requirements that the Council is proposing to adopt incorporates a 10% reduction in the level that would otherwise be required, assuming an 85% occupancy rate. This takes into account the successful implementation of measures to encourage the use of sustainable transport alternatives such as walking, cycling and using public transport. If the Ipswich Parking Strategy Report is implemented in this way, the result will be a relocation of parking spaces so that they are in the right locations rather than making any significant increase to the overall total. The work in this part of town is a reflection of this strategy. The new multi-storey car park will, like Crown Car Park, include a significant number of new electric vehicle charging points to encourage zero carbon and emission motor transport. I do not accept that no work has been undertaken since the declaration of climate emergency. The proposed budget we will be discussing later includes around 6 million of new carbon reduction investments.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Anybody wish to any questions? No officers wish to have anything to add? No. Can we agree recommendations then?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Move on to item 7, Beaufort Street and Fitzwilliam Close car parks. Objections, Councillor Barber.
Thank you. This report informs the Executive of the objection that has been received to the draft amendment to the off-street car parking places order. In October 2019, Executive approved in principle incorporating the car parks managed by Tenancy Services at Beaufort Street and Fitzwilliam Close into the Council's off-street parking places order. We have received one objection and the report details the reasons the objector has raised against the scheme. Her proposals to include the Beaufort Street and Fitzwilliam Close in the off-street car parking place order will stop the public from parking in the car parks and will contain 6 parking bays reserved for disabled blue badge holders.
Thank you. Officers wish to add anything? Any questions or comments? No, agree recommendations? Agreed. Thank you very much. You move on to item 8, business rate relief policy, which I'll take in Councillor Murdoch's absence. So the report provides an overview of next year's business rate relief. At the time the report was written, we didn't have the full details of the additional business rate relief, but we didn't wish to delay implementation. However, since the report was published, the government have now issued guidance in respect of the discounts. Confirm that the retail discount will increase from a third to 50%. It will include cinemas and live music venues, and the qualifying rateable value remains at under 51,000. The local newspaper discount will continue, and there's the up to £1,000 discount for pubs with a rateable value of less than £100,000. So it's clearly good news from small retailers, businesses in Ipswich that they will benefit from the rate discounts, and that we will be able to bring this in time. I think we do just need to recognise though that when it comes to town centres, it is actually the large national retailers who are having the most torrid time and are the ones leaving gaps in town centres, and of course they will not benefit from any of these measures. That's obviously just one small caveat, but welcome the rest. Wish to add anything? Thank you. So, Councillor Lockington, I think I may have answered your question, but if you want to step forward and answer it.
Yes, I think you may have done, and my apologies that gender has changed in terms of who answers the question as well. But I'll ask the question anyway. Will you make the following change to the supplementary text, the option 1 recommendation, to replace the option word can with the definitive word will, to make it clear that music venues, which I hope he agrees, need the financial encouragement that this discretion provides from cinemas are definitely included. And that would just be a complete drafting change in the supplementary advice, so that the current discretionary retail discount policy will be updated to reflect the changes rather than can.
Yes, and now we have received the government guidelines and confirm that we will update them in line with that guidance. It does include live music venues and cinemas, but just to refer back to the point I made before, there is still the restriction on rateable value under £51,000, so it certainly won't be all cinemas and live music venues in Ipswich who get a benefit from this.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a question surrounding 2.7. I don't know if this is where it says as is related to discretion, the council can choose not to grant relief. I just wondered, is that something standard that you, is that a clause that you would insert in here as standard, or do you actually anticipate that there may be reasons for not granting the relief, and who would get to choose whether to grant that relief?
I think the issue here is around the word discretionary. So because the government hasn't changed the law to say that we have to do this, although it's giving us the money to do it, we use our discretionary powers to do the discount. So that's where the discretionary comes in. What we will be doing is updating the guidance, our scheme in line with government guidance, so that if they fall within those parameters that I've set, then they will get the relief. There won't be a discretionary element to that part of it. I believe I'm correct.
You are indeed.
So it's purely how the government's gone around implementing this.
Thank you.
Any further questions? No, can we agree recommendations?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. So if we move on to item 9, extension of Burlington Road Conservation Area. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. It's a straightforward report with a recommendation. Our officers have been conducting an assessment of our conservation areas as per their legal obligation, and here in this report we have a recommendation to extend the Burlington Road Conservation Area as indicated best by the map on page 57. Basically it crosses onto the Westgate side of London Road, and it includes more of London Road on that side, and then south to include Dalton Road. Consultations have been carried out. There were a few responses, and they tended to be questions rather than objections, just so residents could clarify exactly what was meant. And with that, Chair, I will thank Rebecca Stiles for this work and refer us to the recommendation at 13.1. which is to refer this on to council.
Officers wish to add anything? No? Any questions? No? Can we agree the recommendations? Thank you very much. Thank you. Move on to item 10, medium-term financial plan for 2021, including the budget. Don't propose to go into this in a huge amount of detail. We'll be referring it to full council where we normally have our main debate on it. Just refer you to table 4 on page 71, which is really the crux of the matter, which is a number of changes in government funding which hit particularly from the year after next financial year, which could see us lose over £6 million total in funding over the next 4 years, but also be losing out to the tune of around £2 million a year annually. The budget that's been put forward is in response to that, so details a number of savings measures to be put in place to ensure that we are able to maintain a balanced budget and protect services in the future. There are also a number of investments that we're proposing to make, the main focus of those being around carbon reduction, environmental initiatives in line with our declaration of climate emergency. I'll just refer you to some additional information that I circulated. We do have, in paragraph 323, we refer to some of the cost shunting that has taken place over the years in terms of other organisations which have cut costs, which we have picked up. I thought it may be useful that we gave some detail to that. I'm pretty certain there's more that we've listed here, but that comes to around £1.5 million. We'd obviously be significantly better off if we didn't have to pick that up. And then the other one is something that we refer to in 3.6 for around the climate emergency. I thought it may be useful to detail some of the investments that we've made to reduce carbon since 2018-19, as well as the additional investments that we're making, proposing to make in future years. Councillor Cook, do you wish to add anything at this point?
No, I don't think so, Chair.
Thanks. Anybody else wishes to? No, so we'll have a good old ding dong about this, I think. Agree the recommendations? Agree. Thank you. Move on to item 11. Welcome, Councillor Murdoch.
Sorry, I was stuck in the Cambridge.
No, that's fine. So, are you okay to take? Are you okay to take item 11 cash grants?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, and I'm pleased to present the cash grants report. Out of the £375,000 budget, £144,250 were already committed, leaving just under £230,000 to allocate for this year. It is actually a thorough process, and I would like to, however, to draw your attention to point 4 regarding Citizens Advice Bureau. There's been a tremendous amount of work from the Suffolk Cross Authority Task and Finish group over the last few months, and this Task and Finish group was set up following the following Suffolk County Council massive reduction in funding the local citizens' advice for next year. And as you can see that in 4.5, their finding was for every £1 invested in a local citizens' advice, £3.52 £3.52 was saved by national government. So, and you will also see in Appendix 1 the recommendation from the Communities Working Group to continue to financially support Ipswich Citizens Advice Bureau to the same level for the next year, furthermore for another 3 years. So it's a great commitment. I'm pleased to say that it was unanimous in the working group. Just in comparison, Suffolk County Council's suggestion is to grant £120,000 for the whole county for next year. So I would like to thank all the councillors who took part of the process. It's very time consuming and of course a thorough process. And I would like also to thank the community engagement team for their hard work in sorting all those applications. And Appendix 1 gives you the full details of the funding, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Or Mr. Blofeld. Right. Thank you.
We've got anything to add? Anyone? Yes, that's Ross.
Sometimes when we sit in these meetings and we've got all these papers in front of us, we forget why we become councillors or what these papers actually mean. And today I visited the Bangladeshi Sports Centre, who are down as one of your recipients, but that isn't the reason why I'm going to speak now. Is to get to the Bangladeshi Support Centre, you have to walk through the Citizens Advice Bureau, and I would suggest all councillors over the next 2 weeks walking there in the morning. It was 9:15 and they were queuing outside the door. I would love to go across the road and drag those county councillors over there and to see what it's like. And I'll tell you what, it would be the same with the other 3 officers in Suffolk. People were queuing outside the door, people holding young babies, people who were homeless, and if they weren't going there, they would be in here, or in our customer service centre, and they would never go across the road for help. And it's a shame that that Conservative County Council can just, I would like to just ask a simple question. They could ask this, no, have you ever been to the CAB? My betting is the answer would be no. And I felt ashamed walking in there today that we can't do more. And it is actually criminal that we actually rely on a charity to do so much. Hopefully they can do it with our funding and our help, but certainly if anyone has any say in the county council, suggest they go and visit. It might make them change their mind. Thank you.
Anything else? No, I was just reminded when you mentioned Bangladeshi Sports Centre, when we were the previous item when we were talking about cost shunting, because of course we did actually have to increase the funding to Bangladeshi Sports Centre when Suffolk County Council cut their funding to 0 as well. So there are probably other items in cost shunting where we're having to deal with cuts from elsewhere. We have over the years actually maintained the level of funding in real terms that we give to our community organisations, but that's not to say each organisation has received a real terms increase in funding, because there are so many more that actually need help because they've received funding cuts. So it is pleasing that we are able to do this. I speak to many of these organisations. They are extremely grateful that we're continuing funding them, and the fact that we were able to provide them with certainty in many cases of 3-year funding as well. When there is so much uncertainty in the rest of their funding, it helps them to plan ahead that at least the funding from the Ipswich Borough Council they can rely on. Can we agree with recommendations? Thank you very much. Item 12. Rough Sleep Initiative Contract Award Delegation. Councillor Dunn.
Thanks, Chair. The Council has been successful in its bid to the government for Rough Sleeper grant under the Rough Sleeper Initiative. And we are getting £500,000 this year, which is up £110,000 on last year. And that's partly due to the reflection of the great work that the Borough Council and partners reviewing and tackling rough sleeping, and that is acknowledged by central government. But it is also a reflection of the amount of rough sleeping that is still going on in the town. And I believe this is a straightforward paper asking for delegation of three contracts to be placed so that the tenders can be run and so that the people who win the tender can be in place to do their work for the 1st of April.
Thank you. Questions, Councillor Fisher?
Thank you, Chair. So just to confirm, could I ask Councillor McDonald, did we receive the amount that we actually asked for, the 505,455?
Yes.
Thank you.
Pedantically, we've got £50,000 carryover from last year, so it's
Yeah,
half of that, so we only get 450.
I suppose the question, it does relate to this, but also relates to perhaps some of the other papers as well, because this paper is really just about delegating the authority. And so a lot of these papers are actually delegating the authority to officers to take, because I don't have a problem with officers taking that delegated authority. I just wonder, is there, when we delegate the authority to the officers, is there any requirement for the results of the delegated powers to be reported back to executive? Because quite often these relate to procurement issues and relate to contracts awards, which then, if obviously if officers take the delegated powers, we will then see the information. So I just wondered if there could be a report back to the executive of any of the contracts that have been delegated and perhaps authorised. Thank you.
There will be an officer key decision taken, so it will be recorded and published.
So you'll get that at the time the decision's taken, not have to wait until next executive.
Thank you very much.
Anything else on this? Agree with the recommendation? Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. And insurance contract award delegation.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We're in the process at the moment of tendering for the council's insurance services, which is quite a broad portfolio of requirements. The previous contract expired last March, but was extended for 12 months. That's the maximum period of extension, so hence that's why we're in the process of re-tendering for it. The way that the timescale has fallen on this means that we need to again put in place a delegation for the Chief Executive to finalise this in order that we are not left without insurance during the period of April and so forth. So I think the paper is fairly self-explanatory. The only thing that I'll perhaps just draw out is in the region of 9.2 and 9.3, where you'll see that the evidence is that with the exception of fine art insurance, which is quite a specialist requirement, there seems to be quite a competitive market, and it does appear that we will be able to bank a reasonable slice of our big ticket savings target for procurement savings against this item in due course.
Thank you. Anything else to say? Any questions? No. Agree with recommendations? Thank you very much. Item 14, can we agree to exclusion of members of the public so that we can discuss confidential items?